moment, we've got Mr. Felix Moka, who is the Publicity Secretary of the APC here in Abuja Studios. My colleagues will introduce Lagos pretty soon. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. But, you know, sitting back and I know you kept tabs on that ministerial retreat, what transpired, the narratives. But the Speaker, when he says the data provided there will be useful for them moving forward, also in Parliament, as it were. But there's also a lot of data out there which runs contrary to what the President appears to have said when he says, look, they have delivered on their promises. And many who are onlookers just wonder, wait a minute, against what context is he saying that? Because when you look at some of the other figures there, some of them fly in the face of what the President has said. But perhaps you understand his perspective when he says they've met the yearnings of Nigerians. How so?
You know, when Mr. President speaks and provides, information, data, analysis, or even a summation or an impression of what he believes his government has achieved, that is the official record. That's the official record that are easily verifiable.
Okay. Now,
of course, citizens, whether the media or individuals or political parties or people who are in the opposition are entitled to, they have a right to conjecture. You can't take that from them. People can, develop information and data to challenge official record. Now, the fact is, if this president says, for example, that the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which the previous government struggled and never delivered upon, has been built, that is verifiable. I mean, we don't need to quibble about this. That is verifiable. If you go, I'm a Lagosian, as I said, I just did a few minutes ago. If you travel from Lagos to Ibadan today, and relate that with previous travels on that road prior to this government, it was a nightmare. But today is a much better environment to travel. That is a fact. And no one can obfuscate and make it look like this government has not done a thing in that axis. Is it the rail infrastructure, for example? So when the president says he's done well, and he was very specific, he named certain sectors where he believes his administration has made an improvement. And by the way, I think we need to make something clear. Governance is a continuum. When you come in 8 years, no one should expect that you are supposed to actually deliver on a lifetime of vision or expectation. That is not the case. It's always relative either to the government before or even relative to the resources available for you to make those improvements. No, that's the standard.
But I think to be fair with people, they only take them up based on what they have promised. They can't take them up on what they didn't promise, because few politicians will always say, no, I never promised I was going to do this. That's clear. Everybody knows that one. So wherein comes this lifetime development.
No, but see, look, no one, I don't think this government, President Buhari, promised that, for example, that every local road in my village was going to be, made to first-class standard. I don't think that was a promise. I mean, if that was a promise, please, remind me, because I was a participant in that process, and I don't recall.
Let me remind you of this one, since you say we should remind you. In 2016, specifically in April, when they had this retreat, NEC retreat, just like this one, the president spoke in that retreat, and it's widely published. It's out there for everybody to see. He was categorical when he says that his administration would generate 10,000 megawatts of distributable power over the next 3 years. That was in 2016. He went on and said, look, in these next 3 years that we have to do this. This is what they was previously promised 20,000. But here he spoke to say, no, we will give you 10,000 megawatts. Today, we all know we don't have 10,000 megawatts.
We don't have 10,000 megawatts. We have at the peak over 5,000 megawatts. That's about 50% of the figure you have just
over how many?
50%, 5,000 megawatts.
Of the peak of when? The question
yes,
is,
we have
how often do we get to that peak?
That's not it. See, look, the question is, if you have a power outage right now, you're running the show. There can be a power outage, whether from the generator or from the national grid, this moment in your studio. That does not mean that you didn't intend to power this building to support this show we're on today. Plans are one thing. Sometimes reality and accomplishment are separate. My point is that if there's a power failure right now, I don't think there's any Nigerian who's going to be there who's going to say, how dare channels, put out the light? Because you're not doing it deliberately. It happened. Look, the point I'm making is this.
Well, channels already knows that, and we have measures in place to ensure that that kind of thing
I agree.
doesn't happen. So
I'm not trying to...
I get your point. Yes. The thing I'm trying to say is this. I mean, I'll even say that, at some point we understand that we have, up to 7,000 megawatts. But the question is, on a more frequent basis, on a more general and expectable basis, we know that our capacity hovers somewhere between 3,500 and maybe around 4,000 megawatts. That is what our national grid can comfortably take in terms of distribution. And it's been very difficult to get beyond that. So when you say 5,000, that is, how will I put it now? It's manipulating the figure somewhat.
No, please, madam. I'm not sure that that's even near what I have said. And I really wish to be properly, represented. What I'm saying is that our national grid has potential in excess of 5,000 megawatts. Generation, we are far in excess of 5,000 megawatts. I think everyone knows the
promise,
generation,
yes,
the distribution.
The promise here, the promise was 10,000 megawatts of distributable
Yep.
power. That's the promise.
That's the point I'm making. I mean, we're saying the same thing. I'm saying that even with that specific reference or benchmark of distributable power of 10,000, I'm saying that this government has moved us far from where we were to where we are now. Yes, given all of the fluctuations which have been explained. I mean, look, in the last couple of weeks, we've just been all witnesses to all of the revelations going on in our energy sector, in the oil and gas sector, with citizens who are Nigerians conniving with others who may not be Nigerians.
While the president sits as the Minister of Petroleum Resources?
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
So that is happening under his watch?
Well, yes. Now,
is that a success?
Hang on. You ask a question, let me answer. My point is, the President of the Federal Republic at no point, promised that in the entire territory of Nigeria, that we will have a crime-free society. A society where people who are devious, who actually, I mean, is that even, when you ask a question, let me answer you.
Yeah, let me rephrase the question.
Please hang on.
No,
before you rephrase.
You're evading the question because we just read categorically to you what the president promised. And you left that and went to what the president didn't promise. How about responding to what he promised? No, has he met what he promised? He's having a retreat. They're having a retreat.
Hang on. Promise. A promise is a promise.
Define. Definition.
A promise is a statement of aspiration. It is not a divine covenant, which even God only may be able to deliver. There's a difference between having, a promise, as you said, of 10,000 megawatts with good intentions, with committed energy to make that happen. Now, what I'm saying that you must acknowledge, and which I think I expect Nigerians to acknowledge, is that in our country, like in other countries of the world, individuals, entities, businesses, sometimes seek their own self-interest, even when it is inordinate and it's against the national interest.
What does that mean?
Meaning, for instance,
regarding the 10,000 megawatts promise.
Yes, the people who have engaged in acts of sabotage, of piping our gas to where it is needed to sustain that promise.
So, are they more powerful than the federal government?
You must let me speak and answer your question.
You've had almost 40,
because you're interrupting me.
40 minutes to answer. He promised 10,000 megawatts. It's a straightforward answer.
I've answered your question. What do you expect me to say?
What's the answer?
Okay. The answer is this government is diligently seeking to deliver on that promise. And what I'm saying to you is that this government, at the peak of distribution, we have hit over nearly half of that promise, even when it has not been sustained as we would like, as this president would like. I'm saying that it is not enough to simply beg it. You must look at the circumstances. And I give you an example of your studio. I'm sure your diesel, your generator right now, your backup generator, is probably filled with diesel. Your national grid is pumping electricity right now. But at some point, it may be that even when the power goes out for whatever reason, your generator that you trust so much may also not deliver the promise of backup. All I'm saying is that these things happen and that there are citizens who are doing this. You ask the question whether the president, whether this is happening on his watch. My answer is, unfortunately, yes.
Maybe I should read this part again.
It happens everywhere else.
Part of what he also said was, we must, and we will put things right. In 3 years left for this administration, we have given ourselves the target of 10,000 megawatts distributable power. That was in 2016.
Yes.
And you say they're still trying to do this. The target was in 3 years.
Chamberlain,
it's straightforward.
See, look, you can be fixated if you choose.
I'm not fixated.
You are being very fixated.
I'm quoting the president.
Hang on. And I'm trying to say to you that statement you're reading was not, in any way a divine code. It is a promise to do the best under the circumstances of our country. Right?
Okay. Now, Mr.
That's normal.
Now, if under the circumstances which you're trying to let us understand, and
so guys, you can see the way this man is trying to justify himself. He was just there contradicting himself. When you tell lies, these are the things that you struggle to say the right thing. All of these things, they are no big deals. They are not rocket science. Before they came into power, they will be making mouths. I will do this, I will do that. Even as Fashola said that a responsible government by 6 months would have fixed the issue of life and light. And that is the truth. That is exactly the truth. But the reason why they cannot do this is because of selfish interests, corruption here and there. They made mass about a fighting of corruption, but today it's worse. All the lies. The other day, Loretta Onoche came out and said, "Oh, you know what? Buhari never promised $1 to naira, $1 to $1. It was some people that did that. Now they are not telling this man who is a APC publicity or whatever he calls himself, Felix Moka, that's okay. These are the things he promised. He said, "Oh, tell me," because he's part of he's been part of this government, and there was no no time that they promise you one thing. And they say, okay, if that's what you want to do, you want us to do for you, then we're going to tell you. They now went in the line of a power generation, electricity, and what have you. He began to fumble. At what point did you get to at what point he was telling her, okay, they promised 10,000 megawatts. Now he said they've been able to get 5,000, and the interviewer was telling him it's between 3,000 for 3,005 and 4,000. So why are you talking about a 5,000? And again, at what point, if you promise 10,000, you met something maybe at 2.5 or whatever 3,000 megawatts, you met it. Now you are just putting one point something, just one, easy up to 1,000 megawatts, and you are telling us since 2016 Buhari made that promise. Why is it that it has not been fulfilled? He said the interviewer was trying to be fixated or one thing. You can imagine how manipulative these people are. Because of corruption, they will not be able to do meaningful things. Buhari was saying, oh, Baba Yabo, Obasanjo, where is the money? Where is the light? See, today, now you have been there now. They are still telling us that, before they finish their tenure, what you could not do for the past 7 years, is it these few times that you want to do it? They lie the same thing with the same way they lied about a subsidy, that subsidy was a scam. Now they are doing it for 8 years. After 8 years, that is when they say they want to stop. You see how deceitful these people can be. This man was just crying there. To me, he was not saying anything, he was just crying. He was just trying to justify himself, and he was neither here nor there. He was just all over the place. He could not even answer the question. You see the way they were even laughing at him. The question is that out of 100, because they will not, the next thing they will tell you, oh, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, oh, they did raid. Leave all those nonsense rubbish things you're talking about. You are supposed to score 100 marks. You are scoring 5 marks, and you are raising your voice that you have done well. You have failed. So 5/100 now is what you expect Nigerians to be clapping for you, because that is exactly what we are doing. Because we have to mark you all round, because as a student you are not going to be doing only one course. For you to for a student to be a first class or whatever, whether you are 2-1, whether you are 2-2, it is the overall courses that you have done that they are going to get your GPA. You can't just do one course, 10 courses, and you get 100/100 in one course. What of the rest courses? What happens? They are going to calculate it together. At the end of the day, by the time they sum it together, you are coming back to 0. For you to get a first class with your GPA, they are not going to calculate only one course. So an elected officer, you have a lot of courses to deliver, or a lot of courses to attend, or you need to study. At the end of the day, you are going to do your exam, and they will calculate it based on that. You can't just use one thing and begin to tell us, yeah, we have done this, everybody, bamboos everybody. It doesn't work that way. We're still saying all the promises they made to us, they are shambolic. They have not been able to meet them up, and you are coming to tell us a cock and bull stories. Who does that? Tell me who does that? You see the way they are disgracing themselves, and they are still coming with their bold faces, full chest, to tell us that they want to continue. That's why somebody will say, me look on, it's my turn. So whatever they must have done, it's inconsequential. It is my turn to come and do my own. Anyhow I do it, so far it is my own turn. That is just what is happening. So guys, let's hear your opinion and have your take on this.